want to talk in our next little bit about things that we use to cook our food with because they're in our environment, but they also impact our food. So there's two things I want to talk about. One is nonstick cookware because I've heard a lot of controversy about that.
Teflon, for example, they've done studies that have shown that when you preheat a Teflon pan without anything in it, it releases this something called PFOA, this toxic chemical that they've discovered that pet birds like canaries have been dying due to this. If they're in the kitchen, so it's literally the canary in the coal mine, the
Oh,
canary in the kitchen, you know. So
wow.
so DuPont said that they were going to reformulate their Teflon pans by 2015. So we're still 2 years away. And so, simple thing would be look for, they have these new green, kind of green nonstick. Look for those, or try using let's see, cast iron or stainless steel.
Well, my mom, we used to have the ones with the copper bottoms. I don't, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. The copper's not touching your food.
Okay.
That's good.
Wow, this is really helpful. And then the other one is you said it a little bit before in terms of don't microwave plastic, but what about microwaves in general?
When I go into people's homes, I have these meters to check electromagnetic fields, and every single microwave I've ever tested, when it's turned on, it leaks. And it just depends on how far. I've seen some that the rays go back 3, 4 feet. So if you use a microwave, don't stand in front of it and watch your popcorn or never microwave with plastic in there. And those microwave popcorn bags, for example, are coated with this Teflon-like substance to prevent it from sticking to the bag. And so that and the oil mixed together, it's leaching into the popcorn, and then you're eating it. So, I don't, I'm not a big fan of microwave popcorn.
What would you recommend if somebody wanted to make their own popcorn, like the air popper or one of those ones that's round where you move the handle at the top?
Right, the Jiffy Pop thing. Yes, we do at home is I just make it the old-fashioned way. I put a little coconut oil in a big pot has a heavy base, and I put some kernels in there, close it up, and within 3, 4 minutes, you have delicious tasting popcorn. It's fantastic, and you want to look for organic popcorn because, as I said earlier in the earlier segment, almost 80% of the corn in this country that's not organic is genetically modified.
Oh, and that we learned earlier that having food that's genetically modified is not that good for us because our bodies don't assimilate it well. We don't recognize it as a nutrient the way that it should be.
That's
So,
right.
and
You're
then one thing we did not talk about, which is so pervasive, especially in the United States, that's leading to a lot of obesity and issues is, I mean, everybody knows you shouldn't have a lot of sugar, but isn't there also something you talked about at the Commonwealth Club I want to touch on as well in terms of, is it corn syrup or is it high fructose corn syrup? What
it's
is it that people need to pay attention to there?
Yes, the high fructose corn syrup is particularly bad and puts weight on and raises your insulin level if you're concerned about diabetes. But also, the artificial sweeteners are not great for you. A lot of people think artificial sweeteners um, will help you lose weight, and it's completely the opposite. They've done studies and they've shown that people over, let's say, a year period of those drinking artificially sweetened drinks actually gain weight because it creates sort of this craving for more carbohydrates. So, if you're looking to lose weight, go for water, maybe put some stevia in. Stevia is a great sweetener. It's an all natural sweetener from a leaf.
And it
And
doesn't take very much of it either. It's so super sweet. You just need a little bit of it.
exactly.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, this has been an amazing hour. I can't believe how fast it's gone by. I want to touch on a little bit about the psychology of all of this because that's, of course, what this show is about. And one of the things that is so important is we're talking about a very significant issue. And oftentimes what can happen is when you're hearing about all these different things is you can go into overwhelm and you can go into a place of, oh my God, there's so much to do, and then we don't do anything. And I like what you said earlier in terms of choose one or maybe two things that you can change starting today that can make a difference for you in your life. And It doesn't have to be all of it, but what's one thing you can do? If it's your deodorant, if it's your fragrances, if it's, I mean, those are just two that come off the top of my head. If it's using vinegar or hydrogen peroxide instead of Windex. You know, it's like one little thing you can do. And Jamie and I often talk about the Kaizen approach to change, which has been shown in a research very successful way that taking small, minute steps towards a major goal is what gets us to the result. And people that are like, oh my gosh, I've got to throw everything out of my house and I can't do anything. And it becomes so overwhelming that you may like have an initial push, but then you won't keep going. It's kind of like saying I'm going to start working out every single day for an hour a day when you haven't been working out at all. Incremental small steps have been shown to be the most successful in terms of making lasting change. And then also developing a habit. It used to be thinking of 21 days in a row. You can have a new habit get formed. And now they're saying it may be as much as a month or 6 weeks. And the main thing is to make a commitment to yourself that whatever change you're going to make, you're going to consistently do it every day and see how long you can do it and have a really strong reason why you're doing it. And for some people, it might not be for your own health. For whatever reason, we might not have the strong self-esteem. And it may be for the health of your children or so that you're around longer for your children. So those are a couple of key components I want to say. Beth, do you have anything to say about the emotional aspect of the change that's involved here? You work with a lot of clients in their homes. You show people what's toxic in their home environments. You show people in work situations what's toxic in their work environments. What do you give to people as recommendations in terms of how to make these changes?
Well, what you said was very accurate, Emily, taking small steps and do them consistently. And what I wanted to add to that was that you'll see, and as I did in my own life, that by making small changes, you know, just like for me back in the first segment when I was talking about my tumor, that in just 3 days I noticed I started feeling better. And that's what I noticed with people is that when you start making these small changes, you start feeling better, having more vitality, more energy, headaches go away, for example. You're motivated to continue and see what else you can do, what else you can add. But
Well, and I want to jump in here because you know when people go through a detox, like when you have a really toxic internal environment, you may not feel better right away. You actually might feel worse. People who've tried to get off coffee or have tried to stop smoking, which are obvious, like wow, you can build up a lot of toxins from those two things. They know like wow, you can have really bad headaches or you can feel really fatigued. You have to get over that hump. And having a really strong reason to keep doing that can make a big difference. So in one way, it might make you feel better right away, but in some instances, it can also make you feel like not so good right away. Or you might not notice a difference at all. Like using vinegar versus Windex, you might not notice a difference, and yet you can feel good about how you're not having a unnecessary negative impact on your life.
well, that's true. And you also to feel good that you know that you're doing something good for yourself and your family and even your pets. You know, our pets are they're low to the ground and they're the ones who are getting sick a lot as well. I've talked to several veterinarians who can't believe how much cancer and tumors are happening in these dogs. And so dogs and cats, leukemia, for example, is very prevalent in cats now. What's going on? So they are sensitive and they're being impacted by our environment and what we feed them and what we clean our homes with. So know that every little change that you make in your house is impacting the pets in your house, your children, yourself. And you say you're right. You may not feel fantastic right away, but I've seen miracles. Very quickly. A child who had headaches every day for 2 years. When I went into his bedroom, he had a giant air purifier next to his bed. And I asked the mom, well, why do you have this here? Well, he has allergies, she said. And so when I got my meter out and saw that when we turned the air purifier on, the field was enormous. And we moved it 10 feet away from his bed. And you know what? The very next day she called me, she said his headaches stopped. And now 6 months later, he still has no headaches. Sometimes we're not even aware of some of these influences in our home, and it can be such a simple thing to make a change.
So Beth, if somebody wanted to contact you, do you only work locally or do you work anywhere? And what is it that you do? Like, do you go into people's homes like that? And is that what a detox audit is?
Yes, I go into people's homes, but I also work via Skype. So if you have a laptop, we can go room by room. I wouldn't be able to measure your electromagnetic fields from afar, but if you live in the Bay Area, I'm easily accessible to come in and measure, do all sorts of measurements. I check your water for contaminants, and I'll point out which foods might be a problem and teach you how to read labels. I'll go through all your cosmetics and personal care products. I'll show you how to make household cleaners. I even take you shopping if you like. And
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 do you show how to make, you look so fabulous, and I want our viewers and listeners to know that you look really youthful. And do you do your own skin products? And would you be willing to say how old you are?
yeah, I just turned 61 in May, and people say to me, "Well, how do you look so young? What do you put on your skin?" And I always tell them it's not what I put on my skin; it's what I don't put on my skin. So.
That's
Uh,
great. Well, how do people find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So they can just go to bethgreer.com, and all my contact information is there. And my book, Supernatural Home, is available on my website or on Amazon. And the book is broken up into what goes in us, what goes on us, and what surrounds us. And I have fantastic resources in there for everything that you can imagine, from bedding to body lotion, and from uh, moisturizer to mac and cheese. So
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your willingness to jump on and your spontaneity, and it's been fantastic to have you here. And I can't wait for Jamie to weigh in on what she sees from what you've shared. And thanks for tuning in to Wealth Psychology at Sylvia Global Media. And thank you, Beth Greer, for being here.
thank you.